Hi everyone, I'm Andra, and today we have something truly wild for you. You know how dating can be an unpredictable roller coaster ride? Well, sometimes that ride goes completely off the rails. And today we've got one of those stories that will make you laugh, cringe, and maybe even thank the universe it didn't happen to you. Let me introduce you to Sandy. She recently went on a date that, trust me, you'll never forget. Picture this: an app match, a cozy dinner setting, and then things taking a very strange turn. I'll let Sandy tell you the rest, but grab your popcorn because this one's going to be unforgettable.
Okay, so I've got to share with you guys the most horrible date I've ever been on. Honestly, it was like watching a car crash in slow motion. You can't look away, but you really, really want to. It started out normal enough. We met on a dating app. He seemed nice, and his profile made him look pretty charming. He had a decent job, seemed into fitness, and had some pretty witty banter going on in our chats. So naturally, I was excited. I thought this could actually be a great evening. He picked this small, cozy restaurant. Not too fancy, but not a dive either. Perfect for a first date. When I got there, he was already seated. I walked over, smiled, and waved. He didn't get up, didn't smile, just gave me a little nod, like I was a waiter he'd flagged down. Okay, red flag number one. I told myself maybe he was just nervous. I sat down and we exchanged the usual small talk. How was your day? Yada yada. Then, about 5 minutes in, he interrupted me, mid sentence, to tell me that I looked different from my pictures. Not in a good way either. He actually said, "You look less polished, I guess." I think my mouth actually hung open for a solid 10 seconds while my brain tried to compute what he'd just said. I laughed it off, even though inside I was already planning my escape. But it gets worse. Much worse. We ordered drinks, and I thought maybe a glass of wine would take the edge off. But then he started talking about his honest approach to relationships. He said he likes to test his dates to see if they're girlfriend material. I asked what he meant, and he looked me dead in the eye and said, "Well, for example, I didn't shower today. It's a test to see if you can handle me at my worst." I almost spit out my drink. He didn't shower on purpose to test me? Who does that? And it didn't stop there. He went on to say that he brought his mom along on a first date once as a test to see if the girl could handle his family dynamic. I just stared at him, wondering if I was on some kind of prank show. At this point, I was ready to fake a family emergency, but then our food arrived. I decided, okay, I'll at least eat something before I make my exit. But, of course, he made that impossible too. He ordered spaghetti, and let me tell you, I have never seen anyone make eating spaghetti look so horrifying. There was sauce everywhere: his chin, his shirt, even his arm at one point. He didn't seem to care at all. When he noticed me staring, he winked and said, "I like to get messy." By now, I was beyond done. I told him I wasn't feeling well and needed to leave. He didn't even ask if I was okay. He just said, "You're missing out, you know. I'm an acquired taste." I almost laughed out loud. I just nodded, got up, and left. And then, the final cherry on this awful Sunday. He texted me later that night saying he could tell I was into him and wanted to know if I'd be up for a second date. Maybe something more casual, like his place. I blocked him immediately. Moral of the story: sometimes the person who seems charming in text turns out to be the kind of guy who tests you with a no shower policy and spaghetti disasters. So, yeah, that was my wild ride of a date. One for the books, but definitely not in a good way.
A handsome man was testing his dates and ate spaghetti in a horrible way, and thought after all this that the girl liked it, and her leaving was loss for her. He even invited her to second date at his home. Why would be men even testing their dates?